Hey guys, French Tutor here. Today we're going to talk about Luka, a 4-star Physical Nihility character who was confirmed to come out in the Kafka banner in the second phase of the patch 1.2 update. His kit revolves around damage over time, debuffing enemies' damage vulnerability where they receive more damage, and a stacking mechanic that enhances his basic attack. We will talk about his kit and traces in Theorycraft, his best Lycones, Relics, teams, and Eidolons. Please do keep in mind all this info is subject to change and my analysis is based on any information we have now. Also, it will really help me out as a small content creator if you can like and subscribe after watching. Thank you, and let's jump right into the video. Let's talk about his traces. His skill deals a certain amount of physical damage to a single enemy and there is a 100% base chance to inflict bleed on them and it lasts for 3 turns. While bleeding, the enemy will take a certain percentage of their max HP as physical DOT. Looks like Luka's bleed effect will have its own unique properties and do much more damage. For his talent, Luka receives 1 stack of Fighting Will when he uses his basic attack or skill and he can have up to 4 stacks. When he has 2 or more stacks of Fighting Will, his basic attack, which is a single punch, becomes enhanced into an attack with 3 initial hits and a final additional uppercut. When his enhanced basic attack hits an enemy with the bleed status, it will deal damage a single time equal to a certain percentage of the original damage to the target. Luka will also get 1 stack of Fighting Will at the start of combat, so it's very important to use your enhanced attack on a bleeding enemy so you can get additional damage. His ultimate is a 2-step process. First, he gains 2 stacks of Fighting Will, and then there is a 100% base chance to increase an enemy's damage received by X% for 3 turns. Then afterwards, he deals a certain amount of physical damage to a single enemy. So the way this is worded, it sounds like he debuffs an enemy first and then deals damage afterward, which helps him benefit from the debuff right away. For his technique, Luka punches an enemy and deals physical damage to a random single enemy with a 100% base chance of applying his skill's bleed and then gains 1 stack of Fighting Will. Pretty interesting that his technique only hits 1 enemy. His A2 bonus ability lets his skill remove 1 buff from an enemy. This increases his utility by quite a lot and makes him more valuable as a team member. Pretty much lets him use his skill like Payless. His A4 bonus ability lets Luka gain 3 energy for every stack of Fighting Will he gets. This is a pretty unique way to get his ult back faster. With his A6 bonus ability unlocked, when you use his enhanced basic attack, every initial hit has a 50% fixed chance to hit 1 more time. Some nice extra damage here, and I'm sure it will pack a punch. His minor traces are in effect hit rate, which is pretty standard for a Nihility character, attack, and defense. So once Luka enters combat, he'll gain 1 stack of Fighting Will, and you should use his skill to gain 1 more stack to enhance his basic attack and inflict bleed. And then you would have 2 possible options here. 1. Use his enhanced basic attack and do extra damage since the enemy is inflicted with bleed, or 2. Use his ult and gain 2 more stacks of Fighting Will to get up to 4 stacks. And pretty much you would rinse and repeat here. And whenever your team is low on skill points and he doesn't have any stacks of Fighting Will, he can just use his basic attack and gain a stack and a skill point. Luka introduces us to a new type of debuff where enemies will receive more damage, which is pretty different from lowering an enemy's defense, and I'm pretty sure it will increase normal DOT, making Luka essential for Kafka teams that focus on DOT, but I could be wrong. Besides his DOT capabilities, it looks like Luka will get a lot of mileage out of his enhanced basic attack, especially when you hit an enemy inflicted with bleed. So it will be important to keep track of his stacks of Fighting Will. He also has pretty high base chances to apply his ult debuff and bleed, so I don't think he'll need too much effect hit rate. Possibly needs an effect hit rate body piece or maybe even Silverwolf's 4-star event Lycone and you're good to go for most of the endgame content. But if you're using his 4-star signature Lycone that inflicts Ensnared, which has a 60% base chance, you may need to go with the Pan-Galactic set for extra effect hit rate. Overall, I think he's a solid unit and he'll do great on most teams, with or without Kafka, thanks to his ability to cleanse buff on enemies, increase their damage vulnerability, and fairly high damage output. Now let's check out his Eidolons. E1 is able to increase Luka's damage by 15% when he attacks a bleeding enemy. A really good bonus since this will increase his overall damage and DOT, and because it's such an early Eidolon, this is a plus. E2 gives him 1 stack of Fighting Will when he attacks an enemy with a physical weakness. Also very good because that gives him 2 stacks of Fighting Will when he uses his skill or basic attack, which guarantees him an enhanced basic attack, and 3 stacks when he uses his ult. A very good Eidolon as well. E3 increases his skill and talent by 2 levels. E4 gives him a 5% attack bonus per fighting will stack, up to a maximum of 4 stacks. It sounds like a small attack bonus, but it increases DOT, so it is pretty good actually. E5 increases his ult and basic attack. At E6, when an enhanced basic attack hits a bleeding enemy, the bleed status will immediately deal damage one time equal to 8% of the original damage for every initial hit of his enhanced basic attack that was just unleashed. Sounds like depending on how many punches came out from this enhanced basic attack, he'll get some extra damage, but not sure how significant the numbers are yet, but pretty sure it's a good amount of damage. For Light Cone's Eyes of the Prey seems to be a pretty balanced option with effect hit rate and increases DOT damage, definitely a solid choice. Good Night and Sleep Well is your go-to Light Cone if you want to dish out some major damage. Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat is Luka's signature light cone, and it's great if you want to debuff your enemies more by shredding their defense and make him an even more solid support character. Fermata is the free light cone you can get from the Forgotten Hall store, and it's actually good if you use both Kafka and Sampo since your damage increases with enemies afflicted with shock or wind shear. I can finally see some optimal use of this light cone. Also, the extra break effect is nice to increase initial break effect damage. Before the tutorial mission starts gives 40% effect hit rate, which means you can probably build crit with Luka instead. Not sure how viable a crit build is, but I could see Luka doing a lot of damage, so it may work out. Just remember, DOT cannot crit. Incessant Rain will be one of his best light cones with the effect hit rate, crit rate, and a debuff that is very similar to his ult where enemies can receive increased damage. If you somehow have this light cone and you're not using it with Silverwolf, feel free to use it, but it might be overkill since you have good 4-star options already. For Relics, the 4-piece champion set is a no-brainer because it increases physical damage and gives you stacks of attack percent bonuses which all increase DOT damage. And you can see from the most recent livestream they showcase Luka with this very set as it gives you a max of 5 stacks for attack. 4-piece Wildweed is another option that's good for the early to mid game. For planar ornaments, Pangalactic is great if you need the extra effect hit rate with a nice attack bonus. Space Sealing Station is another option as well. For main stats, focus on effect hit rate, crit or even attack percent body, speed boots, physical damage planar sphere, and an energy regeneration rate rope which I highly recommend to get his ult back faster unless you're okay with attack percent for more damage. For substats, focus on effect hit rate, crit, attack percent, and break effect. For teams, this seems to be the best DOT team coming out in patch 1.2. Kafka, Sampo, Luka, and healers like Bailu or Locha or a shielder like Japard. Kafka's skill will trigger all the DOTs on a target enemy to do a certain percentage of its original damage. So the more DOTs you have, the more damage the whole team can do, so it makes sense to have both Sampo and Luka. Kafka's follow-up attack also gets procced when an ally uses a basic attack, which includes Luka's both basic and enhanced. Sampo just hits like a truck, so he'll benefit a lot from Luka's ult debuff. And as mentioned before, I hope Luka's ult debuff will increase DOT damage, but let's see. Pretty much, I'm excited to see how this team will play out. A team I'm looking forward to personally is this hyper carry team with Luka. Zila or E6 Qingchui can benefit heavily from a dual quantum and physical team. Silverwolf can shred defense and apply weaknesses, and Luka can further enhance the damage enemies receive. Can't wait to try out this one. And I think this kind of team lineup will work really well. One Hunt Destruction carry, an Erudition character with good AoE capabilities, a healer or shielder, and Luka as support and debuffer. Think of a physical Pela that focuses on single target debuffing and does much more damage. A sample team would look like this with Dan Heng, Serval, Luka, and Bailu. Thank you very much for watching. I think Luka is a super cool character and he has a very refreshing kit. I'll make sure to add him onto one of my teams. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe. I will be making more pre-release analysis videos like this one. Also, what do you all think of Luka? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to discuss. Take care now.